Good morning. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. Shakti Corporation's Career Guidance team is very proud to host this virtual event, Introduction to IT Careers, covering two major IT professions, quality analyst and business analyst. If you're someone who's looking to start or trying to get back into IT career, this would be highly beneficial for you. Let me walk you through on what's coming next. Our event will get started by covering the business analyst profession first, followed by quality analyst. Towards the end, we will have a Q&A session, and please use the chat feature in the Zoom to send in your questions, and we will answer your questions during the Q&A. And this meeting is being recorded for the future learning sessions. With that, I'll go ahead and introduce our speaker for the BA session, Ramya Shankar. Ramya Shankar works as a vice president in Bank of America, Charlotte, North Carolina, with around 8 years of experience in the field. Her expertise lies in building enterprise-wide web applications. She holds a master's degree from University of Charlotte, North Carolina, with core focus on computer science and data science. Welcome, Ramya. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Dipti. Greetings, all of you. Thank you for taking the first step towards your next step in the career. So let me share my screen and we can go from there. Here we are to talk about introduction to business analyst, right? So in an overview, excuse me. So the objective of the session will be, we will be understanding about project management and then we will dive a little bit deeper into business analysis. We'll also walk through to the roles and responsibilities involved and we'll discuss about the skills needed followed by a few courses that we are suggesting. Moving on. So originally, when the whole software development lifecycle was evolving, right, there were not much processes involved. So pretty much everything was like a battlefield because there were no prioritization, there was no proper allocations required. In analogy, it was pretty much like a weekday morning breakfast scene wherein you would be packing lunch for your husband, your son would want some fruits, your daughter would scream for socks, and all you would want to do is send them all by an hour and then be at peace. So things were very unproductive, and people were trying to resolve everything in chaos, and conflicts was rising up and down. So, in order to mitigate all this, there came a system wherein they were trying to evolve with a life cycle. So, the basis of project management life cycle involves five important phases. One being the project initiation, followed by project planning, then project execution, then project monitoring and control, and which ends in project closure. Before we begin with all of this, let's understand what a project is. A project is something when we create new or improve something that is already existing under three main constraints. We have to stick with what is the scope of the product, how long we can spend to get it delivered, and what is the cost associated with it. Yes, the whole software development lifecycle thrives around these three constraints. So starts with the first phase being the project initiation phase, wherein a set of stakeholders come in and they define the project. They ask for the requirements. They state what is needed, how it is needed, and by when it is needed. They define the goals and the objectives for the target state, and they also establish what resources they have along with how much money is involved to deliver this project. Once this is done, then we move on to the next phase, which is the project planning phase. In project planning, we lay out a roadmap. Okay, now we know what to do, but how we can do. We develop a breakdown structure. We set up goals for each of these structure. And we also see whether the resources and the money that is involved is enough once the assignment is done during the planning phase. So this is claimed to be one of the very crucial phases because this is where the allocation of resources happen so that that project can take the next step. The next step being the project execution step, right? So this is where whatever we've planned so far goes into action. The practical implementation is done. So now we know what to do, how we do. All we have to do is just to get it done. It should be easy peasy, right? But in an ideal world, that is not. This is where the actual trauma happens, wherein the software development team comes. They break down all these requirements and see what can be actually delivered, right? There could be certain things that cannot be met per the stakeholders' requirements. We go back, accept the change, and we start delivering these projects incrementally. Once these projects are delivered incrementally, we enter into this next phase, which is the project monitoring and control phase. This is the most important aspect wherein we qualify or we establish whether the project can be accepted by the stakeholders or not. Komala will be diving deeply into this quality assurance part, but here the quality of the project is determined various metrics. Have we met the requirements? Is it defect free? Is the quality in anywhere where the quality can be improved? Are we monitoring the project in the right status? Is the capacity allocated met all the requirements? We also get the stakeholders feedback wherein they say, hey, we are happy with it, we can go ahead and launch it. Or if they give feedback, we take it back to the software development team, get it fixed and come here. So as you can see, various parties and systems will be involved in this phase of project monitoring. Moving on to the next phase where our project is completed. We deliver the project, right? But it is not a happily ever after fairy tale. So we go back, identify if we had any weaknesses, how did we do better, is there any room for improvement? All these kind of retrospection happens. And the project, we also call it as project postmortem phase, right? Where the budget is tracked, the resource allocation is tracked, and here on. I hear you all by now. Now that we spoke so much about the life cycle, where does a business analyst fit in this whole drama? A business analyst pretty much acts as a liaison between the stakeholder and the software development team. They are someone who's responsible for driving these requirements. They also help in identifying and assessing all these business processes at every phase in the software development lifecycle or the project management cycle. And they also help in executing them. So, in real context, they are like this, a connecting dot for all the roles involved in this picture. They talk to the sponsor, identify the requirements, then they take it back to the subject matter expertise to evaluate the requirements. Once it's done, again, they go to the technical team. When the technical team assesses, they also coordinate with the project management team to cooperate in all of the 5 phases of the project management lifecycle. Moving on, what are the responsibilities? The real responsibilities. So they are involved in every phase of the project management cycle, right? So in the first phase, they are responsible for gathering and preparing all these business requirements from the stakeholders. In the planning phase, they bring all the requirements to the table and document it so that the resources are allocated accordingly. During the execution phase, they help with the analysis and they also help to model all these requirements so that the technical team can understand better. So when I say modeling, in a very straightforward language, we can take it into the context that we convert it into some pictorial representation that the technical team can understand. In the project monitoring phase, they take up all these change requests from the quality assurance team and the software development team and take it back to the stakeholders and help with the performance acceptance testing as well. So definitely, as you can see, they are the driving factor. Now we spoke a lot about requirements. Let's dive a little bit deep into the requirements itself. A requirement in general should be complete, clear, correct, and consistent. That is very important because that is the driving factor for all the stakeholders and the technical team. There are different types of requirements. We will see in a bit why we need different type of requirements, but before that we'll just understand the major two types. One is called as the user requirements and the other is called as the system requirements. The user requirements are written in plain English language that anybody can understand. But when it comes to system requirements, we call it as functional and non-functional because the technical team that involves the development team and the quality assurance team has to understand. So it's an important skill as a business analyst to identify the right user and deliver the requirements accordingly. Let's take a real world example. There is a requirement wherein a customer says, I need a swing. Now we'll see how it's perceived across different parties involved in the project. As a project leader, I could say that I need my swing with extended strings. One of my analysts could say, hey, we need the bark of the tree to be cut so that we can enter back and forth fine with the swing. As a development team, I could say, hey, can you define the requirement of how long my string should be so that all types of users can sway in the string? Next, one of them can say, hey, can I get my swing with cushion? Someone else can say, hey, I need a swing to go up and down on a roller coaster. We cannot have it all, right? So the business analyst is someone who drives this requirement in such a way that a stakeholder is pleased and the technical development also can deliver. So this is the crucial skill that is involved where you communicate back and forth and negotiate. Now, what is the real mantra to do it? Whenever you are brought a problem with, you ask who, what, where, why, when, how, and see if you can lead to a solution, right? As women, we are all good at this, and we pretty much do this daily in everything we do, asking questions, using an analytical brain, and reaching to a solution. Moving on, I can hear your questions already. Some of you might feel, okay, I don't have enough work experience. I don't have IT background at all. I don't have enough domain knowledge, be it finance, be it health, or whatever, right? Can I still become a business analyst? The answer is yes, you can. But it is important to follow some groundwork foundation, right? It's important to understand the foundations of software development and the IT world as such. It's also important to understand what a BA does throughout the software development lifecycle. It's important to know different methodologies and practices involved, like there is an agile methodology, there is waterfall methodology. So it's a good idea to skim through and understand what each of these are about. Also, practical requirement gathering knowledge also is something important, which we just saw. In the end, I will talk about focusing on UML diagrams, but in general, they are something that converting requirements into a pictorial model as we spoke about so that anybody who sees as pictures can understand easily. And also making sure that you are able to drive along the project management process. So if you follow all these steps, you just have one more step left to do. Build a compelling resume so that you can ace your job interview. Moving on, just few more things left. Who do I deal with now if I'm ready to become a business analyst? Project sponsors are someone who are stakeholders who lays the foundation of what is involved in a project. You deal with software developers, wherein you write the functional and non-functional requirements with. You also deal with testing team, wherein you evaluate whether your functional and non-functional requirements are met. There are other stakeholders like the actual end users whose constraints and expectations are also something that you have to keep in mind to make sure they are met. The actual business users to understand their user requirements, and a project manager with whom you have to hold hands throughout this entire project management lifecycle. In a nutshell, your ideal day would be brainstorming all these requirements, working in cooperation with all of these parties involved, gaining an understanding of the bigger picture of your project so you can drive the bigger picture of an organization in general. You also document each and every step which you do along the way. To do and to ace in all this, there are a few courses which we suggest. The first course is to understand the requirement gathering itself. Next is to, once you gather the requirements, a course that I'm suggesting to convert it to UML diagrams based on the object oriented design. And once you complete all this, then I think it would be a good idea to start an introduction to business analyst course so that it helps you to come across. Now, my last 2 cents for you. This is not rocket science. Everybody can do it. You already took the first step. It's just a small change you have to make going forward. Thank you for listening to me, and I now pass it on to Deepthi. Here you go, Deepthi.
That was a great session, Ramya. Now I would like to introduce Chandran, who will be providing insights about QA. Komala Chandran is a senior IT transformation manager, currently associated with Gemini Financial Services, with a career spanning over 20 years, primarily in quality assurance and quality engineering. Welcome, Komala. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Deepthi. Hello, everyone. I'm Komala Chandran, and I thank everyone for this opportunity to share my experience and knowledge on QA. So, QA as a career, I would like everyone here to understand what exactly is QA before you consider choosing that as your career to see if it's suitable for you. So, when we are actually talking every time about entry-level job in IT, QA is always one of them. Why so? Yes, we all know it is relatively easy to get into IT through QA. And yes, software testing is in demand, though we do hear manual testing might be replaced by a lot of automation and stuff like that. But at least for the 10 to 15 years coming up, software testing is always on demand. And it is easy, if we are in QA role, it is easy to transform into other roles from QA, like even as a developer or as a BA or as any other role, project management or anything, if we have experience in QA roles. That's another significant thing in being QA. And it is easy, relatively easy to learn any testing tools or testing by itself. And also one more thing is like project management, easy to have as a freelancer job. And in quality assurance, what is exactly as quality assurance is, it is a process by which a system or a product is ensured to meet its requirement. It is like making sure that what has been conveyed by the customer, what has been agreed to the customer is being transferred to every single SDLC phase and delivered to the customer. So a QA's role is across the SDLC process, from requirements gathering to analysis to development, deployment, support, and maintenance. QA actually plays active role in all of these phases. So testing is part of QA. Testing, though it is a primary role, we do have part in each of the SDLC phase. Let me say what exactly is a tester's role. A role of a tester, as I mentioned, is across all of this. So when we actually have the requirement gathering phase, we sit with them, we understand the requirements, we break down the requirements. The requirement might be just logging into a website, but we need to break down that requirement into various small segments and various ifs and buts and conditions. And we need to come up with validation points for those requirements, design and develop test steps, test validation points, which we call it as test cases, against those specifications. And once the product comes after development, we make sure these test validation points are tested in the developed application and make sure the requirements are met in turn. So while we are also doing this, we identify and record the bugs or defects that we find during the testing. And when we actually find those defects or bugs, we have to travel through the life cycle of the defect, not just identifying or documenting with required details and snapshot, maybe dig into the application a little, find the cause of the defect or a bug, and communicate it with other teams, developers, BAs, everyone, and track the bug until it gets closed. We also coordinate with all other teams, not just within the QA. We coordinate with the project managers, product managers, product owners, developers, BA, and even the support maintenance team, deployment team. We coordinate with every other team to ensure the quality of the product that goes out. While we are doing all of this, in everything we do, the most important thing is to measure and track metrics, because those metrics are the one that is going to decide if a product is going out into production or not. Without those metrics and without measuring them throughout the life cycle, it is very difficult to actually ensure and sign off a product that it meets all the requirements, it's of good quality. So this metric tracking and analyzing the data that is collected during the tracking and deciding if the product is of good quality, it meets all the requirements, that is very important skill for a tester. Now let me go through the basics QA skills. Of course, QA needs much more than this, depending on the different types of QA role, which we will see later. But these are like some basic skills that we will need. As I mentioned before, we play a part in every phase of SDLC. So knowledge on the complete SDLC and development methodologies, testing is very, very important. And second, we need to have a very good analytical skills. It is not just for the metrics, but also the analytical skills will help us to read through a requirement, to imagine what all the different scenarios an end user can actually go through in this requirement, even in a login screen. What are the different mistakes a user can make? What are the different possible scenarios that would come up in a real-time login screen? So to think through that, we need a good analytical skills and creativity. And another important thing for a QA person is to have a good communication, not just verbal communication, but also a good return communication, return skill, because it is important to document every single thing that we are coming through. Another few skills that it will help is basic SQL skills, to actually write down very basic SQL queries, and a little bit of scripting skills will also help when we are actually doing the analysis, at least to write a macro in an Excel. That level of scripting skills will help a lot. And it is also good to understand what are APIs, what are web services, how do they work, how do they interact with the application. That understanding, at least at a very high level, will help a lot. And a few of the job titles I've mentioned there are for entry-level jobs. Of course, it's different from one organization to the other, but these are very common. QA engineer, tester, analyst, and test engineer are the few job titles you would want to look at. So this is basic QA, like functional testing or manual testing. I would want to take you through the different types of testing. Of course, there are much more, but I have covered the major ones. And every single type of testing here is a different role by itself, will require different skills above the basic skills. For example, if we take functional testing, I will require the basic skills and maybe some more domain skill, and maybe a skill to understand an architecture. And if we take performance testing, I would need to understand more of the networks as well. Again, the architecture, and maybe good knowledge of database, how it works. So if we are going through the performance stream, we need to develop those skills above our basic QA. Another good example, which is very common nowadays, is test automation, like automated testing. So one good thing about automated testing is all of these type of tests can be automated. So there are different tools, different languages for each of the test automation that we do. Say for functional testing, the more common things that we hear is Selenium, UFT, those kind of tools, which actually requires basic skills like maybe VBScript or Java. So we need to find out which of this stream we want to step in QA and develop the skills that is appropriate for it. So now we know what exactly is QA. What's a tester's role in QA? There are different types of roles within QA, and how do we progress towards it if we select our career in QA? So as I mentioned before, the first and foremost thing is to understand SDLC and quality assurance, of course, including different development methodologies and all those things that is important to enter into the QA role. The next things is understand different types of testing. There are various materials online. Understand what is performance testing, what is security testing, what is data testing. So understand different types of testing just for a knowledge, and see what are the skills that is needed for those testing. There is, so as I mentioned, there's so much of material, videos available in even different languages available online. It's easy for us to actually look through that. And then when you have a clear picture of what's QA, different types of testing, what are the skills needed, pick a job role that would be interesting to you. Or you might have a previous experience, you might have experience as in support maybe, or you might have experience with DB before, or you have studied some scripting in college. So whichever is in line with your previous experience or interest, pick a role and start taking trainings, read materials. So there are, again, so many paid, unpaid trainings for specifically on tools, languages. Say if I want to learn Java, there is various trainings available, paid or unpaid. And similarly for Selenium or any other UFT or any other tool, Tosca, so many tools are there. So read through that, take those trainings, and very importantly, if you are taking a tool training or a training on a language, please practice. There are many websites which actually will give you open-ended question or a problem statement, ask you to script for it, and you can validate your response there. So search through for those websites, take trainings, read, and practice. So once you have done all these things, see if you can take certifications, because certifications will push you ahead in the job search, and it will be an excellent addition in your resume. There are various certifications on just testing or even domains. Say I want to get into banking or money laundering domain. There is a lot of certifications available, or there are certifications on specifically tools or languages. Search through those certifications and see which you can take to do and to enhance your learning and to have a good addition in your resume. So here are some of courses and certifications. Again, there are so many in each of this, and some are free, some are paid. And if you actually go for paid, then you will have a certificate at the end. And even LinkedIn and YouTube offers a lot of trainings, and in YouTube you have in even various languages. I sometimes are not able to understand certain very technical thing. I listen to it in Tamil, so because I can relate it very easily in my language. So don't feel free actually to learn in any language, because when implementing it, it's all going to be the same. And these are few generic QA certificates. And whatever whatever tools or languages you want to learn, there are certifications if you search through. But these are like basic QA or software testing certifications. It will actually give you a label during the job search. So this is all the material I want to share with you, and I hope it will help you to decide if QA is a good career for you and how to move forward with that decision. And thank you. And wish you all the very best. Thanks, Deepthi.
That was a very informative session from both of you. With that, we will now move on to a Q&A. I would like to welcome back our speakers for this. And we will also have Ramya Rajendran joining us for our Q&A. Ramya Rajendran has over 15 years of experience in the IT industry. He has played various roles like business analyst, product owner, project program manager, and she's currently working as a lead strategy and planning consultant for Wells Fargo. And with her expertise in the field, it will be a much more value add to our Q&A session. Welcome again, and we have our first question here. So the question is, I would want to make sure my break is clearly mentioned in my new search, and how to do that in a gracious, acceptable, professional way. Am I audible?
Yes, Deepthi. Yeah, I can take in that, and someone like Ramya or Rose can pitch in because they have more experience on this. Yes, it is always important to mention your break in the resume, and many organization respects that. In a gracious way, isn't like you can mention it that be very genuine in mentioning the reason. Was it for family? Is it for higher education? Is it a break for some other reason, health, any reason, but be genuine and mention what exactly is the reason. That will actually help. I would suggest not to put in some cooked up reason, because it will always raise more questions. You have anything to say, Ramya?
Right. No, just to add to you, there are many, see, these days, I mean, the times have changed. Previously, like 10 years or 20 years back, it was difficult to enter back when you have a break. But now, lot of organizations are encouraging, and this is the very good time, because many big organizations have programs where they are specifically calling out for people who have taken a break for genuine reasons, or whatever break. And all breaks, I mean, it's all genuine, but they have programs, even for example, Wells Fargo has a fantastic program. Periodically they advertise and they ask people to apply back. There are many such, especially they are encouraging women to re-enter the industry after the break. I mean, even offline, we can search and share such programs with the audience, but you also can Google for such programs. And these days, it should not be a big challenge for you, and organizations understand that.
I can pitch in real quick. That's actually a very great question. So I'm in a graceful way. Yes, be upfront, honest about your career break. Go ahead, mention it in your resume. If you take a break for family, mention that you're in a family. If you're not comfortable mentioning why, then just mention as sabbatical. And, as Ramya rightly pointed out, employers are coming around and are more forgiving about the career breaks that you could have in your life, because it's a life. Job is just a part of it. So be upfront, be honest, and when you're asked questions about why the career break, be confident in answering them, because we are all human beings, and they will totally understand why we took what we took.
And also be ready to take up a little lower level. Say, for example, if you have worked as a senior project manager before and have taken a 10 years break, and then when you are entering back, just be ready to take up a little lower level, learn and make yourself up to the market and speed, and then very soon you will catch up and you will excel. So just be confident and try.
Thank you. And we have our next question here. Question is, my previous experience is in India and not in US. Does it count?
I think you should repeat the question.
Yeah, Deepthi, I think you're having technical difficulties. If you continue to have that, I'd be happy to take over.
Sure, Rose, it would be great if you could take over.
Okay. All right. So I have a question for you guys here. There is a question from a commerce graduate. She says that I have pursued my bachelor's degree in commerce field back in 2006. I have no job experience, but now I want to do a job in IT field. So how can I start? Anyone wants to take it?
I can take it.
Yep.
So it's a good question that you identify that you want to start a job in the IT field, right? That's a good start. Now, as we discussed, you try to explore what is happening in IT field first, because it could be a little different because you're having a commerce background, right? Now, there are various areas involved within the IT field itself. Like, as we spoke, we can do business analysis. There is quality assurance. There is a lot of other things. Like, you can even become like a business partner where you are someone asking for what the stakeholders want. So identify what roles interest you the most. Then you start developing your skill set towards that role. Of course, because you're coming from a commerce background, a little bit of homework is necessary. If you are able to take it up, then yes, you will be able to identify and go by that.
Thanks, Ramya. Anybody wants to add anything to it? Okay, I have the next question here. My previous experience is in India and not in US. Does it count to my work experience?
Yeah, I can take that up. Of course, it does. It does count. Now that we are working in a very global way, wherever you have the experience, relevant experience, it would count. So no doubt on that.
Absolutely. A job is a job, whether you take it in US or in India. If you're working in a legal or, say HR processes, then the legalities and the process might be changing, but it is still a communication related job. IT is going to still be IT. So please make sure you mention your experience, irrespective of where it is or what it is. It might not even be relevant to what you're doing right now. Make sure you have put it, because most of the times employers like to see if you had worked in a corporate environment, if you worked in a team, then they know that you're not going to be very raw coming into a job, right? You know how to collaborate with your team members. So please go ahead and mention any experience that you have. Thanks, Komala, on that. The next question is going to be very interesting. I love this question. I'm a woman in 40s. Can I still start a career? Anyone wants to take that? It's a beautiful question, and I'm going to love the answers here.
Absolutely. And many of my friends have done it. Trust me. I mean, this is the best age, because even though you have never worked in your life, but the age 40, you have gained life experiences. Even though you have not collaborated within corporate, you have collaborated within your family. You know the value of the job or the responsibility, taking ownership, the right attitude. That's more important than your technical Java skill or a VB skill. So you should try. And this is the right age, I'm saying, because see, you can start as soon as you complete your college graduation, 20s. And if you miss it, or because of family, you have taken other priorities, 40 is the right age. Think about it, start it.
I would like to add on to that. I am a woman in my 40s. I just started my career a year ago. So, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for that, Deepthi. And I'll move on to the next question. How long it will take to make me confident to attend an interview?
I can take that. I think how long is a too abstract term to define at this phase. Practice definitely makes it perfect. So keep taking mock interviews. Whenever you feel confident, you can go for actual interviews. But to take mock interviews doesn't hurt at all. You could be done in a day, you could take 10 days, but keep practicing. Keep practicing, that is the key.
Yeah. And I would also say give a timeline for yourself. Okay, this is the period I will attend trainings and practice for 3 months. I will have my friends, I take mock interviews, help me with mock interviews for a week or two. Then I will start applying, see how it goes. So give timeline for yourself and start preparing. And that will push you to, be ready for an interview.
Great. Thank you for that, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would also like to add something. See, with confidence, the more you do it, you get more confident. So I would start with mock interviews. And of course, Shakthi could help you with mock interviews. You could call Shakti's support line and leave a message, and then we can schedule you with mock interviews. You start with mock interviews and start taking real interviews too. So the more you do it, you'll gain more confidence. Thank you.
Thanks, Nidya. That is our president of Shakthi Corporation. Thanks for joining us today. All right, the next one goes to the business analyst professionals here. So I have 9 years of experience in QA, and I recently completed my BA training. Please let me know what are the important tasks which business analysts will be doing. Ramya,
Yeah.
want to take? Yep.
I can take
start first, yeah.
Yeah, I can take up this question. See, I mean, you are in an excellent, place where, you can make this dream come true because you already have the QA experience, and whatever skill sets you have learned or experienced in QA, most of them are same, in BA and in BA world. So the real difference or the responsibilities are, you play a role in the upstream, like, before even the software gets developed, you talk to the stakeholders trying to understand the requirement. At that time you don't have anything, like, the software is not there, so you just have to visualize the problems or what will help the end users and talk to them, really have an empathy to understand what is going on, what could help them, and collaborate with everybody else. You don't need to be technically smart to come up with solution, but you can collaborate with other subject matter experts, business wise as well as technology wise, and come up with alternate solutions. So that's the first step: requirements gathering, analysis, and coming up with solutions. So that's the first and foremost responsibility. And then after you come up with a solution, document it, get it approved, and then communicate with different stakeholders, like explain it to the stakeholders, this is what is going to be delivered, and explain it to the developers, this is what they have to develop, and explain it to the testers, this is what they have to test to pass or fail the requirements. So same curry, but different spices. For child, you have to make it mild. For yourself, you can make it spicy, something like that. So these are the different responsibilities, real world you will be working on.
Just to add a couple of more things, right? Like as Ramya mentioned, the only major difference is you will have to communicate more and you have to be accepting different parties. So having the right attitude is also important, because when you're doing QA, it will always be defined to specific segment of a project, right? Now you have to have a bigger understanding of the project. So in terms of the way you look at things, when we are dealing with a task as a QA, you will have to look into minute details. But as a BA, you have to start exploring more in terms of looking at the bigger picture.
Excellent. Very well said, Ramya.
Thank you for that. And I'm sorry, did I speak over anyone?
No, we are good. We are good.
Thank you. So I have one more QA question. Please provide some information about QA testing in the current job market. I think I can rephrase it a little bit. I think whoever asked this wanted to know what is trending in QA right now, where, people are more in, I don't know, QA people.
Yeah, I can take this up. Yes, in the trending thing in QA is two. One is test automation, like automated testing, which, as I mentioned before during the session, any testing can be automated. So there is, again, a lot of strings to choose on that. And depending on the tool or the level of development skill that you can train yourself on, that would be a very good thing that you can get into. And the second thing is security testing. Because now we know with internet booming and everyone, even a smaller organization wants to get into cloud, and they wanted to make sure their security concerns in a product are actually met and taken care of. So security testing is another booming thing. And third thing is reliability testing. That is specifically on cloud implemented web applications to make sure their applications are reliable in very tough situations, or when a component goes down, or when too many people log in. So that kind of testing is called reliability testing, to see how reliable the application is in odd situations. So these three are very trending testing requirements. I'm actively in Capgemini, I work for Capgemini, we do have many active positions open for these three. So that we always be searching for test automation, security, and reliability test engineers.
All right, thank you for that. And I'm not a technical person, but I think you guys will understand this question. What sites would you suggest that has a problem statement?
Okay, I can take up, say, if you're searching for problem statements for Python or Java, there are many websites. You can contact Shakthi support. I will see to help you with, because now I don't have it handy. But there are a lot of websites. You can actually search for problem statements for practice, if that's what if I've understood the question right, problem statements meaning. And there are also websites which will say, okay, this is the requirement, drill that down and write test cases. So we can help you with that offline, but yes, there are so much online you can search for it.
Okay, thank you. There is another question. It's pretty similar, but I think there is more details to it. So I have 3 years of experience in India. Now I have a 4-year career gap, and can I start my experience as a fresher or with experience? This person has mostly been a QA in manual testing, in API, and a little bit of automation Selenium API testing as well. So I think basically they're trying to ask, should I start fresh or will this experience count?
It will surely count. I think we mentioned similar question before. It will surely count, but I will ask you to refresh. So we all know only problem with IT is it's changing every day. If we are not updating ourselves, even after you get a job, even after 20 years of experience, I still study, right? If we are not updating ourselves, we become obsolete. So see what has been changed in these 4 years. When you took the break and to now, train yourself and update yourself before you search for jobs, because a hiring manager will actually appreciate that you have put an effort to upgrade yourself, update yourself, what is trending today, and what has changed, even in Selenium that you have learned or used 4 years before, it has changed a lot now. And what are the other tools with Selenium that we can use types? So all I'm saying is please consider and always use your previous experience. And you don't need to start fresh, but upgrade and update yourself. What is the change that has come to the industry in these 4 years?
Okay, anything to add to it?
Right.
I'm sorry, guys, that was my Alexa going off, but here is the next question. I have about 12 years of experience in IT and currently working as a senior product manager at an established financial organization. Being a mom of under two, it's been a struggle to keep up a job which requires 3 days in an office environment. I want to go full time, but it's been a challenge to find a job which is full time, work from home, and fits my job. Do Shakthi organization guide with such issues? Nidya, if you're free, do you want to take up this question?
Yeah, I can take it up.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, if you have prior experience back in India, okay, it is always a plus. Okay, don't try to hide it or don't underestimate yourself. I mean, it's still an experience in IT. Okay, that's first thing. And the second thing is, with kids, I understand you prefer a work from home job. You can keep trying, but worst case scenario, my suggestion is to take up a job, okay, and go to work 2 or 3 times a week. This way, you also get more confidence because you'll be meeting with people in person, okay, and you'll be dressing up to work every day, driving your car, and believe me, that gives so much confidence. And also for your kids, they are going to be bored staying at home. So for them to send them to a good daycare or preschool would really help. They'll find their friends to play with, and their communication will improve, and they socialize more. So I think don't hesitate just because you're a mom with kids. Don't hesitate to go for to find jobs that needs you full time at work. It's a win-win. Okay, it's definitely going to help you in the long run. And the other thing is, once you start going to job and once you establish the trust within your team and your manager, then you can always request them for the flexibility. You can tell them, hey, I have little kids and I would prefer to work from home more. Then most managers, okay, would be more than happy to help new moms, especially. Okay, they offer all the flexibility they would need. But sometimes you may not get that at the very beginning of the job. At least you have to go to office 2 or 3 months a day, at 3 months, and then prove yourself, and then ask for the flexibility.
Thanks, Nidya. That was beautiful, very practical.
I would like to add to Nidya, and this question is specifically by a person who has a child less than 2 years old and currently working in US for 12 years in a senior position. So I just want to tell you, it's just a suggestion. So recently I also searched for a job and got a job. I switched a job. So in Indeed or some job sites, you have a filter criteria where you can mention you are looking only for work from home opportunities. Any opportunity, even after experience, it takes time to land upon a right job at the right time. So just use filter criteria and make sure you are searching for the job consistently every week. Just you plan your time. Every week I will apply for one job or something like that. It will take some time. It will not happen immediately, but you will find your dream job, with your flexibilities very soon. I worked from home for 10 years in US. Now I prefer going to office, but you will find yours very soon.
Great. I think we have time for just one more question. This again goes to testing. Feel free to pick up anyone who knows this. So the question goes here, right? So to get into security testing field, could you please suggest if there are any courses or certifications I can start with?
Sure. There are specific courses on Udemy. Of course, they are paid, and you will get Udemy certification upon completion. And you can also take LinkedIn courses. I would suggest specifically if you are targeting getting into cloud-based environments and applications, start doing or looking at any cloud-specific certifications like Azure, AWS. And that will all give you a very good exposure to what security, especially the security testing and reliability testing, they happen mostly on cloud-based applications. So understanding that cloud architecture and what is security within cloud also will help. And those certifications will be a great addition.
All right. I think that would conclude our Q&A session. I thank you, everyone, for joining. Ramya, Komala, Ramya, Shankar. It's been a pleasure having you all. I know we could not get to all the questions that has come here in chat, but you could get in touch with us through. I'm trying to share my screen so you can have it there. So you could get in touch with us in Facebook and Instagram, which is mentioned in the presentation here. But I'd also like to thank Nidhya, who's our president of Shakthi Corporation, to giving us this good opportunity. And we also have WhatsApp groups. If you're not a part of it, use our go to our website. You will see an email. Just shoot us an email there saying that you want to be a part of our WhatsApp group. Then we'll send you a meeting invite. We often share news on IT careers, non-IT, and entrepreneurship there. That's the best way to stay in touch with us. Okay. With this, we'll conclude our session for today. I thank you, everyone, for joining today. Thank you.